What were you looking at when you were a kid in theatres like this?
Well, I went to the Metropolitan when I was a boy, and I saw a man called Ernie Lottinger performing, and he was very funny. I didn't quite know what was going on, but he was very funny. And I went to the Bedford Music Hall once or twice, several times during the war. I saw Max Miller perform twice, and it left me with the impression that he was probably the greatest thespian of any kind we've ever produced. And as a musician, I played in the Metropolitan in about 1953. It must have been just before it was knocked down. And even there we were playing a jazz concert, but I got the feeling of those old gas brackets in the back rooms and the stone walls and where they used to queue. It was a feeling that I was trespassing, really. That if I was going to go and do something in that place, I should have been doing a turn, not playing bebop. And I also appeared in the Hackney Empire just at the time when they were tearing it down and making it into a television studio. This would be in 1958. And we were making a television programme even as they were tearing the walls down. And I remember we did, I don't know, a 39-week series or something. I was a musician then. And the first week I went in, I was very aware of what the place was and how sort of vandalised it was. And I saw a piece of wall. It wasn't a wall, it was a piece of wall. They hadn't yet knocked down. And there was a little plaque in it, and it said, "This couch, or this chaise lounge, was presented to Queen Victoria by the Shah of Persia on his state visit, 18-something. And I thought, my goodness. And I thought about it when I went home. I thought, next week I'll pinch it, because it's worth having. And I went back, and it was gone, the wall was gone, the room was, everything was smashed up. But the irony is, of course, that it's now a music hall again. They've reconverted it.
What do you think should happen to this place, then?
Oh, I think some philanthropist should come here and put unlimited money in it and restore it to not its former glory, but something surpassing its former glory. I mean, there are 2 or 3 buildings in London which should be saved no matter what the cost and no matter what the impracticability. One of them is St Pancras Station, which should be converted into a themed hotel. Sherlock Holmes Hotel. They don't tell you your room number, they give you some clues and work it out. And this place should also be restored and people should perform here.
Be a pity if we'd seen the last performances here, wouldn't it?
A tragedy, but I rather fear that we probably have, you know.
Do you reckon?
I'm afraid.
I think something could be done about it. Just give me a minute.
Now that sounds very ominous. I wonder what's in store now.
There's a green-eyed yellow idol to the north of Kathmandu. There's a little marble cross beneath the town. There's a broken-hearted woman tends the grave of Mad Karoo, while the little god forever gazes down. He was known as Mad Karoo by the subs at Kathmandu. He was hotter than they felt inclined to tell. But for all his foolish pranks, he was worshipped in the ranks, and the colonel's daughter smiled on him as well.
He never misses a moment. Time for lunch again. Sorry about that. Anyway, now, being Thursday, we're going to be joining Andy Craig soon for our weekly motoring feature. But first of all, here's a reminder that the motorist wasn't always the friend of the television viewer.
Have you ever thought what would happen if your set showed you pictures of the road outside your home? You would see some of the passing vehicles clearly enough. A post office van, or a service vehicle, or a railway lorry, or the car of some thoughtful private motorist, for interference suppressors have been fitted to all their engines. But you wouldn't be able to see this car properly, because it spoils your picture as it passes, and not only your picture. As this man drives along, he leaves a trail of interference, at least as bad as this, on all the television screens on his route. Yet a few minutes at a garage or a radio dealer's will stop this nuisance for good.
This is the Palm Court at Alexandra Palace, where those first television pictures came from. Different story nowadays, though. Do you know there are 700 million television sets in the world, and in Britain we spend, on average, 9 hours a day watching the telly. Absolutely shameful. We should find something else to do. A little bit later in the programme, we'll be meeting some of the men and women who appeared in and produced those television programmes 54 years ago. In the meantime, Sue's gone down the other end of the building in search of the studios.
The selection of a site for the first television station presented many difficulties of which the public know little. Eventually, the Alexandra Palace was chosen. To convert the old palace into the headquarters of the latest miracle in electrical communication, complete reconstruction was necessary, so that the building might house the transmitters, control rooms, studios, and all the complicated apparatus of the two television systems.
And towering above me now is that famous Alexandra Palace aerial. It stands right on top of the corner of the building where 56 years ago the world's first television service was launched. I'm going to go inside and see what's left of the old BBC studios. When BBC staff first started work here in the middle of August 1936, they believed that the launch of the new service was 4 months away. But as Cecil Madden, the first programme organiser, stepped out of this lift, he could hear the phone ringing in his new office. It was the BBC's director of television to tell him that the timetable had been changed. They now had just 9 days to get the first programme on the air.
Engineers stand by in the control room. The levels are set. Switches are thrown. Generators begin to turn. The water flows through to the transmitter valves. The valve filaments begin to glow. The lights in the studios come up on the dimmers. The producer is waiting at his microphone to speak his last word to the artist. The controllers are ready on vision and sound. The vision and sound are on. The station goes on the air.
Along this corridor are the old studios. There were in fact 2 different television systems on trial. Here in Studio B was the system designed by John Logie Baird, and just along the corridor in Studio A was the rival Marconi EMI system. Now, although we remember John Logie Baird as the inventor of television, in fact it was the Marconi EMI system which proved the more reliable in the end. Here in Studio A is where it all happened. Well, not a lot to see here now, just an empty studio. There's the control room window over there. There's the lighting gantry above me. But really, this is a monument to the remarkable achievements of those early pioneers. Using cameras like these, really small, isn't it? Remarkable. The image is upside down. Looks like something you might find at the seaside and put a penny in the slot. But using cameras like those, they used to produce 2 hours of live television a day. Everything from opera to performing poodles. I don't know, maybe I'm imagining things, but I'm sure I can still feel the excitement of those early television programmes still lingering in the air around me.
A mighty maze of mystic magic rays is all about us in the blue, and in sight and sound they trace living pictures out of space to bring a new wonder to you.
I have not come here to be made a laughing stock. Now, please, remember where you are and temper your hilarity with a modicum of reserve. Have you heard this one?